welcome to the Recipe for Success. This is brought to you with the local enterprise offices and the National Enterprise Awards. We have 3 finalists in front of me. Introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Denise, co-owner of Sugar Plum Sweetery from Mullingar.
Pat Falvey, the owner of Blarney Brewing Company and Active Brewing Company.
Ian O'Rourke, co-founder and managing director of RYSE Chocolate.
Very cool. All food brands, food and drink. That's why I call it the Recipe for Success. You see where they pay me the big money? Came up with that all on my own as well. No AI needed. So we're going to do something different, right? We normally talk about like how do you start your business, what happened then, what happened then. Today we're going to do like a masterclass for people who are either in the food and drink business or want to get into the food and drink business, who kind of want to be where you are in a couple of years. So we're going to do the Recipe for Success. I'm going to get you to pick 1 or 2 things from your journeys that have been fundamental to your success, and then we'll kind of talk around your story from that. So Denise, I'll start with you. What's been one thing that's been fundamental to the Sugar Plum Sweetery?
So I think for us, I can never just have one thing, so I'll add in 2 halves. So I think
you're breaking the rules already.
I know,
Denise.
I'm sorry. Just to be relevant for us, and actually attention to detail and obsession is really important for us. So I think just making sure that you're really connected with the customer, so you understand what the customer is looking for, that you're kind of like, whether it is just looking at social media, TikTok as well, and trying to make sure that you're appealing to a wide audience, I think made a big difference for our business. We obviously had massive success last year in growth, and a lot of that came from just not looking at what the classics and in terms of chocolatiers, even in Europe, are doing, but just looking at becoming a little bit more dynamic and edgy as well. So I think that was our big recipe for success. And I think you always need to have attention to detail and obsession with whatever you do, that you can't just be a one-trick pony and have really good at one thing. As an entrepreneur, you have to be good at multitude of everything. So it has to be an amazing product. It has to be marketed really effectively, etc. So I think that's what I think is a huge factor for our business and how successful it is.
Okay, there's a lot there I want to unpack already.
Yeah.
You said staying relevant, but how do you not jump into like things that might be a fad?
You have to test it. And I think what we do very good is that, like, we'll launch a product. It mightn't be the finalized packaging, but we will launch it and see what the customer wants and does the audience pick up on it. So when we launched our Dubai bar, it was in a cellophane wrap. I had this crazy perception that we get it into its gold foil wrapping, which is on the table there, in like, say, 2 months. It takes 5 months to get packaging done properly. So, but then people just got used to what it was, but people wanted the product so badly, and because they wanted it at that time, that they're happy to get it in that original kind of the cellophane one as well. And then when we actually launched the more kind of Sugar Plum brand, people go, oh, I want the old one back. And we were like, we spent 5 months making this. So I think that's really important as well, just to make sure that you have to test it as well. And sometimes things don't work out, and it's important that you don't invest too much into it, but you're always going to have that thing that you might go after the winner that you think is right and it's not. But I think now what we've learned over the last, say, year and a half is, I think we really understand the market, the audience, looking at London, New York, what's happening in the world, to see what will influence Irish customers as well.
Okay, you're speaking my language with these experiments. How do you test something so you get it to market really quick, like the Dubai bar? Talk me through how you kind of had that idea, where you saw it, and then how fast we talk and how soon from idea to execution?
So I would say how fast we probably turned it around in a month. So literally from start to finish. So because we had packaging that we could use, but it's literally like we make it in the chocolate factory in Mullingar and we bring it to the shop. So it's literally from there to there. So it's within a day. I bought moulds to make, I think, 9 bars at the start. And in the end, we had enough to make 1,000 bars in one batch. So that's how kind of expanded. So I think that was kind of a really good turning point with us as well. So the same thing is, like, we had 9, and then I could see the online orders kind of racking up, and then I could see it in the shop that there is people looking for it. So I could see it was trending in Dubai, and then I could see that it hadn't touched Ireland because people couldn't get it here. So I was like, why don't we just try it? But we've done this on multiple occasions before, and something just kind of caught off. So we just tried it, and as I said, like we went from making 100 a day up to 3,000 a day.
Wow.
So because the appetite was huge, and there's people traveling from Cork and everywhere to come
Really?
to Mullingar. Yeah. So we'd queues every weekend, and literally the bars weren't even wrapped. They're going up to the chocolate shop, and people are like, I was here first. Like we had
No
people
way.
fighting over bars. We had like a 6-week waiting list for bars online.
Is that a good problem or a bad problem?
It's always a good problem when you've gone through the hard part of like business. And I suppose when we started it off at the start, it was heavy lifting and like trying to get the momentum. And I think it's very hard to have a very small, you can either have a very small business or a big business. That medium size is really tricky. So I just think when you have this like wow moment, you just take it all in. So you don't need sleep. You just keep making chocolate bars.
Okay, good problem to have. Pat, what about you? What's the first ingredient you're throwing in the mix there?
Yeah, I think belief. Just belief in everything you do. You have, you won't get out of the blocks without believing in yourself first and foremost, and then as you grow, as you develop, you have a vision. Believe in your vision, and the people you have around you. Building great team and having belief in everyone around you. I suppose for me, the core has to come back to that vision and belief.
Where does that come from? Is that innate, or do you have to, like Denise talked about there, do you have to see the evidence in front of you and that grows it? How does it come?
Well, I think some people have it better than others. And it's about having confidence as well. So you can't believe, to believe in yourself and believe in what you're doing and your product. You have to be confident in your approach and everything you do. So it's So I think for me, fundamentally, it started with a belief in a brand name, and then it just evolved bit by bit from there. Obviously it has to start somewhere. So it started with the name for Blarney Brewing Company.
You come up with the name first before anything else?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
So it was, I suppose, look, I'm from the local area in Blarney, and it's a globally known name. It's synonymous with Ireland.
Yeah.
And I suppose I believed in the fact that it could travel. So as an export product, it has the potential to be recognised immediately as being Irish. So that was a key for me in getting going and making the start.
Right, before we kick off today's episode, a quick word about my friends at Nostra, who are sponsoring today's episode. Look, if you're running a company, you already know the drill. IT keeps coming back looking for more budget, and then the CFO is pulling their hair out trying to figure out what they're getting for it. And at the back of your mind, you're wondering, are we secure? Is any of this working? Well, Nostra figure all that out. Honestly, the range of clients they have is huge. Aircraft leasing, credit unions, manufacturers, small businesses, the lot. Regulated, unregulated, big and small. They come in, give you the full picture in plain English and let you make the call. Check out nostra.ie or click the link in the description below. This episode of The Entrepreneur Experiment is brought to you by Azure Communications. If you're building a brand, how it shows up in the real world matters, just like you see on the pod. And that's where Azure Communications come in. Azure specializes in high quality print and packaging solutions that help businesses look professional, credible, and ready to scale. From packaging and point of sale materials to branded print that actually reflects the quality of your product, Azure works closely with businesses of all sizes to get the details right. Whether you're launching something new or upgrading how your brand appears, Azure Communications helps you make a strong impression where it counts. Find out more at azurecom.ie. That's azurecom.ie. Were you hunting for a new business, or where did the origin come from? Because obviously starting with the name is one thing, but where was the kind of light bulb moment?
For me, my backstory is, I suppose, I spent 20 years in property, and probably through a combination of burnout and just falling out of love with the passion for selling property, I found myself taking a year out. So I split my property company merged with Lisney. We then became Sotheby's International Realty, and then I decided property life was no longer for me, and took some time out. Didn't know what I was going to do, but I wasn't afraid of change. I always knew I wanted to enter an industry which, you know, I suppose would be infinitely scalable for me. It was important that I felt it was a ceiling on what I was doing. And thereafter was just, I kind of stumbled into it. It kind of, beer found me, the brewery found me, I suppose, as opposed to, it was something that evolved very naturally. All came from a chance lunch in the Blarney Castle Hotel. And we sat there and I just thought, why has nobody ever utilised the Blarney name to build a product, a brand for beer or whiskey, or, you know, in the beverage world. So, and 3 weeks later I owned the brewery. So,
okay, how?
So I came across it in a liquidation auction, and looked at it, and it was far too expensive for what I was looking to do. It was far too big. But the day of the auction, I put a blind bid, and I got a call that evening to say I'm the proud owner of a brewery and I need to have a premises in the next 7 days to move it there.
What were you buying? The equipment, was it?
The whole brew house, the packaging line. We acquired everything out of liquidation. Yeah. So
where do you hear about these things? Where do you hear about these liquidations?
Do you know, it was a chance meeting. I responded to an ad on Dundee for a really small brew house in Bandon in Cork. Met this guy, and it was kind of a cheap and nasty Chinese kit, and it wasn't a fit. And he just said to me, I know this place in Wexford, it's going into liquidation. So I went and had a look, and that was, it just evolved from there. So,
wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Ian, what are you throwing into the mix?
Yeah, I think it's probably counterintuitive to a lot of what some people would say, but it's at the start anyway, do things that don't scale. So it's very much about getting out there and getting feedback really, really quickly from, for instance, your customers. The example I have is some of the stores that we perceived we would do well in. I made sure that I had a good rapport and relationship with the store manager, which meant that then you get promos away, but you also get feedback. You get to ring them and say, okay, well, what's it like at the moment? How's it going? How can we increase rate of sale? Who's consuming it? What part of the day are they consuming it at? If they really buy into you at the start, they will give you that information, and that information is just absolutely golden.
So you're using them as market research, really, like they were selling your product, but they're also kind of making them part of the team, essentially.
Somewhat, yeah, because it's myself and my brother-in-law Dave that founded it. So and it's now we've a shared resource. We've a great rep that's working with us, Gary. But apart from that's it, like, you know, and us then having really key accounts that we're able to kind of just ring them up and say, what's your rate of sale? How are you doing? When did it spike? When did it not spike? Can we get a different place in store? But then also as well, going out to like community groups, or partnership collaboration brands at a kind of smaller level and building relationships with them. So Mark in How's Your Head Clothing, we do a lot of collaborations with him. And that audience is perfect for us, but it also means that we get feedback from Mark. Oh, people love the bars, or there's this event coming up. So like we've done that, I suppose, at this lower level, which means that we have a lot of information on the brand for a small brand, and we're doing it for free. We're not going out and conducting big studies or research or anything like that, which can at times be a waste of money, you know. So we're growing that way of kind of, I said it to Dave a few weeks ago, putting ourselves so much out there at a kind of grassroots level that we're going to get lucky, that you build these relationships and then someone will pass you on to someone else and say, you know what, such and such owns this store, I'm going to say it to them. And then if you build those relationships, it's like a domino effect, really, you know.
I love that. It's just breaking it down to the next digestible piece.
Yeah. People
look at a big problem and go, I don't know how I'll get all Ireland or all UK.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Whenever I've heard these stories, it's always like, we went to the next shop and the next shop and the next shop, because it's hard, right? What you say there is really obvious and really common sense, but common sense is not that common, and people don't want to do it because it's hard.
Yeah, I think
going into these places and getting rejected and going, no, not for us.
Yeah,
and building those relationships, it's time. slow and it's hard. So do things that don't scale. I really like that one because I think as a young business as well, and Denise talked about it as well there in terms of like being able to test really quickly, like you're able to learn really quickly. What's been feedback you weren't expecting?
That's a really good question. Feedback that we weren't expecting. I think at the start, and still to be honest, it was when you're sitting as the brand or the owner of the business. Sometimes you have this perception that more people know about your brand than actually is the reality. So we very much know that we have very, very, very low awareness still. But the feedback is the understanding kind of more so, which is people actually don't understand. We need to actually build a category and educate everyone, because we thought that it would be really easy to understand. You put caffeine in chocolate, you put B vitamins in chocolate, you're going to have increased energy, you're going to have increased focus. A lot of people think that caffeine is actually coffee, which we didn't perceive at the time, and then a lot of people don't have an understanding of what caffeine actually does to you.
Oh,
so
I'm really surprised because
yeah,
when I saw your product, I was like, "Oh, that's clever! Caffeine, chocolate,
yeah,
boom."
Yeah, and
like you're taking two things that people knew,
yeah,
putting them together. Because we've seen loads of big brands do this recently, like they're just making existing products healthier.
Yeah,
and that's a big kind of trend at the minute. Like, so I'm really surprised. That is surprising feedback, even for me, who was like when I met you as well, and I was like, "Oh, that's very clever."
Yeah, and I think that's the one of the most interesting things is, as well as that 80 milligrams of caffeine, how much is that? You know,
yeah.
So using these comparative things it's the same in terms of the amount of caffeine you get from a can of Red Bull, a 250 ml, the kind of classic can of Red Bull, or it's flat white can be anywhere between like 60 and 80, so like kind of a double espresso. But a lot of people don't even know then that double espresso is in flat white, and that's just because we consume these products and we don't look into that greater level of detail. So that is, I suppose, it's been really interesting feedback, but it's also a big challenge when you're trying to create an entirely new category. It's the education piece, but then you don't want to be preaching education. You want it to be kind of like interesting and entertaining. So that's a big kind of, it's interesting feedback, but it's also a challenge, you know.
Yeah, it's surprising even for me to hear that. Like, that is surprising, but I guess it's exciting too, though, because there does feel like there's green space in this. Pat was talking about functional drinks there earlier, you know, adding function to beer. So, like, to go back to you, Pat, then active brewing.
Yeah,
is that what that is?
Yeah, so I suppose it's a joint venture between myself and Irish rugby player Peter O'Mahony, and very quickly we when we came across, I suppose, the non-alcoholic space, we could see there was a gap. We knew that we could just compete with everybody else, but we wanted to be a little bit different. And obviously from Peter's sporting background, it was important that I suppose we had something that was played into that active world, into the health, wellness, active lifestyle, and hence the name. But also the fact that we're adding function to our non-alcoholic beers by providing people with a recover product which has protein, creatine, B12, magnesium, and electrolytes. So post-activity, you can crack open a cool, refreshing beer and be getting a lot of the supplement benefits that you'd be otherwise paying for in tablet form or in powder form.
Okay, so very similar to you.
Yeah, very similar.
You're kind of both forging in the same space. Yeah. And why did you decide to do active brewing and not bring it into the Blarney?
So we see them as two, even though obviously there's a synergy in that they're both beer, but we see active as a totally different segment of the market that we're looking to. I suppose it's a different process. We're manufacturing for Blarney and we're contracting for active.
What's the difference?
So for us, like obviously with Blarney, it's I suppose it's labor intensive. It's a costly manufacturing process is very different. Whereas with contracting, we're infinitely scalable straight away. So it's important in that respect that, you know, we can produce as much or as little of this as we need very reactively to the market.
So someone else is making it for you.
Yes, yeah.
And why are they making it for you and not yourself?
So our beers are fully dealcoholized, the same as your Heinekens or your Guinness. There's two different processes in non-alcoholic beer. One is that you brew and you formulate with a specialized yeast, but it's still trace alcohol in the beer, whereas we fully dealcoholize, which is a reverse osmosis process where we brew with alcohol and then strip it out. So, and it's a very costly process. So,
Right. Is that machinery or what is that?
yeah, it's a process. It's a filtration system. So it's a step within the manufacturing process. And again, it's purely down to, I suppose, as a startup company, we didn't have the resources and the funds available to us to spend €1 million on a dealcoholizer. So
Yeah, well, it's like Denise's thing about testing, experimenting. I always wondered why there was trace alcohol in that, so that kind of makes a lot of sense.
yeah.
So Active Brewing, I like the name. I think it's quite clever.
Yeah.
So what's the kind of vision for that one then?
So again, we're really playing in hard and heavy into the health wellness space. So we see this as a brand that fits well with outside of the on trade. So you take your paddle clubs, you take your golf clubs, sporting settings, your gyms, as well as obviously through retail, through off trade. We see it as our target market, as opposed to the alcoholic beverages, your on trade, your off trade, direct to off license and off license groups and retail multiples. So,
And then can this be sold anywhere, or is it the same? Does it have to be in and off license?
no, technically it's the same as a soft drink. So it can be sold in unlicensed premises. So cafes who don't have a drinks license, it can be sold in, as I mentioned, sports clubs, gyms, in any setting. Again, we're looking at things like AI vending. So we're looking at product placement in key locations, and we think that will be a big plus. So we can place product in gyms, in target settings. So
It kind of taps into what we're talking about there. The health and wellness space is absolutely booming. So you're kind of taking something that people are already very familiar with and just kind of introducing it in a new way when people do want to not celebrate, but they want to kind of enjoy something afterwards. It isn't a beer.
yeah, I think the people's awareness of the benefits of your proteins and creatines and so on and so forth has evolved dramatically over the last number of years. And I think people are spending quite a lot of money every month on supplement benefits, and if they can get that as part of their daily consumption, it's a plus.
Is this a response to people drinking less? So your other business is this, or is just something separate?
I think we spoke about it earlier about the advent of zebra striping, and people are still consuming alcohol.
Explain that for people who don't know what that is. It's a
So
great term.
it's alternating between alcoholic beverages and non-alcoholic beverages in the course of the same social evening. And I think that people are I suppose still have a desire to consume alcohol, but maybe want to feel a little bit better thereafter. And I think there's a good intersection between alcoholic and non-alcoholic beverages, so that's really evolving. So for us, it's it was just a natural progression for what we were doing. We just felt that it's outside of RTDs or ready to drinks, your canned cocktails, non-alcoholic beverages is the fastest growing portion of the beverage sector in the beverage world. So it's a key market really for future growth.
And Denise, I see like a ton of different products in front of me on the table here. What's been your evolution? What did you start with?
I suppose what we started was kind of going after the classics. So like the milk chocolate with hazelnut, the honeycomb, and some still exist. But what we've had to do is I think a detail is really important, that you focus on what are your best sellers, because we have to start kind of delisting some things to make way for new products. And currently in our kitchen, there's probably 10 products that are new and that we taste them every day to just kind of see what's the next one, what date that's going to launch. But with that, you have to start knocking off some slow sellers essentially. Right. But we know, yes, there's the classic ones, but if somebody can get that somewhere else, why don't we create something that doesn't exist? And that's what we do well, and that's our focus all the time.
I get you. That's tough though, isn't it? Because
It's tough eating chocolate in the morning.
I know. That does sound like a hell day. We've 10 new products we
Yeah.
need to try today. So talk to me about the innovation piece then, because that's really, really interesting. I think you've kind of struck on something there, and you've all kind of had the same theme. You're taking something people are very familiar with and adding your unique spin on it, whether it's the active ingredients or, you know, the innovation through yours. So talk to me then about how the innovation happened, like, because you seem to be very dialed on the experimentation process, the innovation process.
Yeah, so I think once we had like a 900% growth last year within our business, and which is massive.
900%.
Yeah, that's what we did. We had 1 month that we took the full turnover of the year previous in 1 month alone last year.
Okay,
So,
we got to dig into this really quickly.
Yeah.
How does that happen?
so that happened with just it was obviously the Dubai and the virality of that. And it just happened literally between, like, obviously with social kind of TikTok and all that stuff, like it started becoming a trend on that, and people were trying to get their hands on the bar to try. And instead of, like, obviously you would generally pay creators and all that stuff, people were begging for the bar from us. So it was between
Creators
that.
were?
Yeah, creators were, like, everybody wanted to get their hands on it. And then we got loads of great press, newspaper, Just Classic as well, radio stations. But there's 1 week I think I was on 6 radio stations alone, and on top of RTE, we're coming down to the chocolate factory. Like, it was completely crazy as we were knocking the wall, as we were doing interviews to make a bigger chocolate factory. So that's how chaotic it got. But
All from that one bar.
all from that one bar, yeah.
I love stories like that.
Yeah.
Things can change in a moment.
Yeah,
I think
just
that's the
change
magic
overnight.
of business, though, isn't it? That's
Yeah.
the magic of having your own business. You're always waiting for that, like,
Yeah.
oh, it's happening.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what we were kind of waiting for, because we had the foundations, we knew what we were at. We have, like, highly skilled chocolatiers. Everything was there, but we just needed something to just give us that boost and momentum to kind of get us to the next level, I suppose.
And then what moves the needle for you? Because you said, like, radio, TV, TikTok, social media, like, what do you do? And then suddenly you see, boom, drops the bottom line. Because with marketing, there's a lot of stuff people are doing, and then you ask them, they're like, I don't really know, I'm just doing everything just in case.
I think with that, it was a bit of everything. Like, it has to be, because I think some people undervalue classic marketing. So, like, the newspapers and the TV, but, like, that's a huge audience that still look at that. And we all listen to the radio in the mornings. And then TikTok had just launched TikTok Shop in Ireland. So that was starting to grow as well. So that was a really big one for us, which we launched with them. I think we're the second or third brand with them last year when we launched to sell on their platform. So I do think you have to be all encompassing, which is really tricky when, like I said before, when you're a small brand, because you have to do everything yourself. Obviously it's me and my husband, so that helps. So we just divide and conquer with different tasks and roles. But I do think you have to do everything, because you just don't know what that one catalyst is going to be. But for us, I think it was everything. At that stage, everybody was talking about us. Like, you've talked about brand awareness and people knowing your brand. Like, still, a lot of people don't know who we are, but then when you talk to them, then they go, oh, was that bar?
Yeah.
And then they remember as well. But yeah, I think you have to be doing everything, because you just don't know which one is going to work or take off.
Okay, now I'm going to take away every single marketing channel you have except one. What are you keeping?
The what?
What are you keeping? I'm going to take away every single marketing channel you have. You can only focus on one for the
Social
next
media.
6 months. Okay, go deeper. Within that, what are we talking?
So I think for us now, TikTok is really performing, and we can put figures against it. Before that, you would definitely say it was Instagram, and they obviously tried to sell on that platform and it just didn't really work. But, like, you can't say, like, TikTok, you have figures every single week against you. You've got people sharing your content, like working with creators, events, all that stuff. And so, like, that's the one I would say, because there's positioning for a brand, and then there's just commercial. And I think sometimes you just need to get the balance right. But sometimes, like now, commercial is really important, because the business has to be viable. It has to make money. Because sometimes, I suppose, we spent in the first 2 years, it was amazing, the relationships we had with brands and what we were doing. And it was great doing things like markets, and they look great, and it was great for brand awareness. But what were you making from them when you look at margin and how long it takes to do a 3-day event and all that?
Yeah.
Whereas now, I think we've learned the hard way that you just need to be more commercial.
Okay, and when you say more commercial, are you direct to consumer then? Is that what you're talking about? Or are you owning the relationship, or are you in like mainstream stores as well?
Oh, we do everything. So obviously we have
This seems to be the theme. We just do everything.
just do everything. So we obviously sell through our website. Then we have TikTok. We have our physical shop in Mullingar. Our plan over the next 3 years to open 10 physical Sugar Plum Sweetery stores.
10.
10, 2 for this year, that are more or less, we've one open in 6 weeks, and then we've another one by the end of the year, because people want Sugar Plum. They want to walk in, they want the experience, they want everything. So like whether it's the music, everything we have looked at is attention to detail. So it's an experience coming into our shop, and that comes across in our packaging as well, and our product.
You can see it. Like, you can see you've care and thought gone into the packaging. That's ambitious, like 10 stores, and physical retail is still working well.
Yeah, so we're in really key retailers like all Brian Thomas stores and Arnott's, Avoca, Kilkenny Design, and some other selected stores. But yeah, it's still working. You still have to make sure that there's an appetite and the customer wants it. But like in most stores that I've mentioned, we're in the top of the top performing versus last year, and in the category, whether it's chocolate or food as well. So we're driving performance within their stores as well.
And you're a premium product. From the names you've just dropped there, I'm guessing you're a very premium product.
Yeah, absolutely.
Loves confidence.
There you go.
Ian, what we're going to do another ingredient each. What ingredient would you put in now?
I didn't think as hard about my second ingredient. I think probably creativity, and I mean that across the business in everything you do. You're gonna come up with some issues that are either complex or are time bound, etc. And you need to be able to think very creatively and adapt and be quick on your feet, really. Also, that's one side of things in terms of like creative solutions for, let's say, dealing with a customer problem, moving stock around, or dealing with it in a certain specific way. But then from our perspective, because we're and like the guys were, I suppose, all very unique products, we kind of embed that across the whole business. So our kind of line is energy done differently. So everything we do is kind of differentiated. So we try and think creatively about every single aspect of the business. So even down from our packaging, we kind of went with a bit of a matte finish, which a lot of bars in our price range don't go with, which is slightly more expensive. Then our cases, the product actually stands up in our cases rather than sideways. Like all of the other bars are generally sideways, and ours stand up because it's an energy product. So we want to kind of show the energy of the bar standing up.
I love that level of detail. That's really interesting.
So and then that creativity and having a clear kind of understanding that we want to be creative means it's actually quite easy. When you look at anything you're doing, you say, how can we be creative here? It feeds down into our social media, our FSDUs, or our point of sale units in store. We've taken a very different stance on that. So like even the units that we put in store will get you a higher margin per square inch than other units, because we're able to put more bars in a smaller space. So it's easier then to sell into a customer, retailer, store manager and say, well, actually we can fit 3 cases vertically here where you'd only fit 2 cases. So that makes a difference. So looking at everything creatively across the whole business is what we try and do. That then obviously our social is kind of where that is most seen by consumers, but we're trying to do it everywhere.
I love that. Yeah, it's not just like, oh, let's do a cool TikTok. It's just, let's be creative in every single element that we do.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's been the biggest hurdle you've had to get creative to get overcome?
I would say time when it comes to being creative and thinking that kind of in that differentiated way. You need to give yourself time to think. And when you're in the weeds all the time, you can't really get into that creative zone, like going for a walk or like getting an idea in the shower. Now I come up with about 10 different ideas a day, which is sometimes you just need to be able to then siphon through which one actually makes sense. But it's definitely time is definitely an aspect that you need to put time aside to think about your actual problems, and then how can you solve them creatively, you know.
What's been the biggest actual problem you faced in getting RYSE off the ground?
I think still, and I'm sure it will be until we're hopefully a household brand, is the understanding of the product offering. It's going to be, it's the category itself hasn't ever had energy in it. So how I kind of created the idea was, I went and I thought to myself, okay, no one's doing it. Loads of people came back and said, well, there's a reason why no one's doing it. And that's always the way. And then they're such high performing categories. Chocolate has like 98 or 99% penetration. Coffee has such high penetration, but putting energy into chocolate never worked. So that overall understanding is still a barrier. So that means that then you have to come up with creative solutions to get through that. And the creative solution generally around that is high footfall sampling, because everyone that tries the bar is willing to rebuy the bar. We know it tastes fantastic, but there's just this mental block about, oh, what's it going to taste like? Because people have a perception about functional products that they're not going to taste as good. And we spent the guts of 3 years working on this to make sure that we got like a flawless taste. So that kind of the overall barrier or hurdle has been getting people to try it. And then you have to just build out creative ways to get them to try it in a, as Denise said, a commercial way that makes sense rather than kind of wasting money. Getting it into people's hands at the right time of day even. You don't want to be giving anybody a chocolate energy bar at 6 p.m. So that's kind of the way we need to do things, you know.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense in terms of, I guess we were talking about earlier and going into a Circle K or something now, you're faced with this wall of options.
Yeah.
The big brands are so big and they're spending so much money in branding and positioning. And a friend of mine has a coffee company and I was looking to buy it a few weeks ago and I sent him a photo of the Dunn's shelf. I was like, it's not here. And he goes, look down where the rats shop. And I looked, like literally had to like zoom in on the photo and it was in the very bottom thing underneath.
Absolutely.
And he's like, eye level is buy level. He goes, it's a massive thing we're running into right now. Because again, there was like the own brand stuff was right in the middle, and then there was like, I think it was Bewley's or something else. So right bang in the middle, whereas that was an Irish brand and it was like right there and on the top shelf as well. And they were separated.
Yeah.
They were up here and down there.
It's extremely difficult. It's extremely difficult from a physical availability point of view to actually get into the right space, because the percentage difference between being on a bottom shelf versus in that eye line is extremely different. Absolutely massively different. And then also you have to think of, you're always being judged on your unit rate of sale per store per week. So if you are in a specific place in store, you will be rated still against the category average, but the category average that's somewhat skewed, I suppose.
Okay,
overall.
it's not factoring in where you are on the shelf. It's just it is what it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
But in fairness to our retailers, they're absolutely backing us because we produce in Ireland, we're Irish owned, we have a backstory, and we're so innovative. So our retailers are really looking at ways to get us in the right space and store. So I think the Irish angle there has been extremely beneficial to us in that regard, that like we're able to have conversations at a really local level and find out what's working, and again bring retailers information and data that says, okay, well look, in this store we have 2 counter displays and we sell at 5 times the rate of sale of the store where we're not in as good a location. So then when you have those proof points, again going back to that other point, you have to have a relationship to get that data. So getting that proof points and bringing it to someone else and saying, look, give us a chance here, that really works, you know.
Okay, so that'd be kind of your advice to someone who's wanting to set up and get into retail, is that develop those small initial relationships, get the proof in a couple of locations.
Absolutely.
Then use that proof. Don't be just trying to like get everywhere all at once. Go slower, get the evidence, and use the evidence then to sell more.
Absolutely, yeah. You've said it far better than I did, so well done.
Okay, thank you. That's what I'm here for.
Again, thanks to our sponsors Nostra, who take such pride in securing their clients. Kevin talks a lot about immutable backup. It's a difference between recovering from a cyber attack or not. Cybersecurity is made so complicated by so many, and Nostra work to make it easy and flexible so it doesn't stop your business, is affordable and really delivers, because no one wants to get that attack phone call.
Pat, what about you then? What's your next ingredient?
I think for me, vision. So like, and I'm a big believer in manifesting success. So you know, seeing the end goal and just going for it, just literally, and not being afraid of change, not being afraid to be responsive to change. So like if you see something isn't working, bin it and move on and get the next thing going. Because again, I think, you know, it's like once you can visualize your end goal, it's just a process to get there.
How do you do that? Do you have a process? Do you sit down with a whiteboard and go, right, I'm going to map out the next 12 months? Or is it just you're out for a walk and you're like, right, I can see the brewery, I can see where I want to be?
My wife will tell anyone I'm the worst planner in the world. So I'm really, I suppose, just everything happens in my head, which is probably a weak point in many respects. But no, I suppose that when it comes to products, and I'm sure the guys will be the same here, like, you know, you don't get it on the shelf of a retail multiple, or you know, you don't get that level of success without, you know, starting from the like, that's your vision. You know, I'm going to create this product, and it's going to, you know, I go into the pubs and I see our brand sitting up there with literally global giants, you know, and it's like, that's where when I started, I was like, I want to be there with the Heinekens, with the Diageos, and be competing at their level, you know. And it's once you have that vision, it's the process. It happens thereafter. Again, it's down to manifesting and the belief. Back to my original point, the belief in yourself and knowing that, you know, if every morning you get up, you're just taking one little step towards your goal. It's like the compound effect of every day just doing that one little bit to improve your business. Every week, every month, every year, it takes you on an incredible journey.
And bring me to the tactical elements that Ian just talked about there, in terms of getting on shelf, getting off shelf. Because you talk about like the Diageos of the world, the Heinekens, again, look at the World Cup, like the marketing spend they can put behind these things is just bananas. Like you see any big sporting event, they just bombard it. Like you go to like the Three Arena and they've bought out the whole place. How do you then, as a small brand, get up and then get off the shelf as well?
I think the guys alluded to as well, like, I mean, being an Irish brand, you get a lot of support from retailers, publicans. They like what we do because we're different, you know, and I think people want different. In many respects, you know, we can't compete with the multi-million euro marketing budgets of these big brands, but we're offering something completely different to what they are, you know. So it's like, in many respects, it's embracing that and promoting that in certain ways that they'll never be able to compete with me, is the way I look at it.
In what way?
Because they can never do what we do. They're global giants, you know, whereas we have the personal element. We have a brand that has character. It's different from, you know, it's not just a made up glossy brand that was developed around the boardroom table. And the other thing we have that they don't is we can respond to the market far quicker than any of these big brands. So if we want to bring out a new product, we can do it in 3-4 weeks. It would take them, in some cases, 3 and 4 years to do it. So as the market evolves, as it grows, as new opportunities arise, we're on it, you know. So like, and I mean, I mentioned AI vending. Like,
what is that, by the way?
So it's a refrigerated unit. You tap your card, you open the fridge, take whatever you want, and when you close the door, you get charged.
Oh, it's like the Amazon shops where you walk in. Okay.
So again, like, for us to implement that, we'll have that done in a number of weeks, and we'll have it in key locations. For some of these big companies to do something like that, it has to be passed through all sorts of board clearance and all sorts of checks and balances before they can do it. So that's the big thing for us, is being agile, being able to move fast, and building a brand with character.
And how, to kind of talk about what Denise talked about earlier, how are you getting people to kind of know about your brand?
Again, as the guys would understand, social media is key. We're not a Heineken, we're not a Diageo. We don't have millions to spend on sponsorship deals and on long-term agreements with publicans like they do, unfortunately, which they shouldn't be with the anti-competitive laws in Ireland. But
what does that mean? People who've no idea what that means.
So these big brands, it's well known fact that they enter into publicans, and they basically tie them into contracts for financial reward. Or maybe, you're doing your beer garden and they write you a check, so we can't compete with that at that level. But in many cases,
does that mean you can't get into that bar then, or does that mean,
or in certain cases they'll take us out? You know what I mean? So they'll come in and go, we want that tap, and we'll pay for it,
Yeah.
So and again, the majority of publicans are good enough because they understand we can't just have all macro. We can't just have all these big brands because consumers are coming in and asking, have you got anything local? Have you got anything craft? So like there is a demand from the consumer which overrides all that financial spend power of these big brands.
Okay, that's interesting. See, that was a bit I couldn't really understand. It was like, if they're just writing blank checks, everyone's a business, you're going to go, well, twist my arm. But it would kind of negate that if they've no other products, people aren't just going to come back there. They might go there and come back. Okay, Denise.
Something I don't think is discussed enough is experience, because sometimes it's like once you're an entrepreneur or a business owner, it starts from, you started when you're 12 or 15, but I think it differs for people. But for me, I just think you can just learn so much from going into really great companies, and even other people that are in small businesses as well. And one thing I talk to everybody about now when I hear that they're looking at business is like, do you understand margin? Where are you working now? And ask about margin. Like, what is it on? Because that's one thing that I have 20 years of experience in retail. And I walked out and went, do you know what? I'm not fully confident on that. And it's such a massive, it's either make or break for a business if you don't understand your costs and how to, especially if you're dealing with wholesalers, to understand the pricing. So for me, I just think between my experience in retail and my husband's, it gave us it kind of started at us that we had a lot of mistakes that we had seen in the past from other companies, that we had started kind of on a better grounding for that.
Yeah. It's an incredibly good point. I do sometimes talk to people who've really good businesses, and they're light on the detail when it comes to stuff like margin. It's it makes you nervous. What were you doing before this?
So I worked in Brown Thomas for 10 years, just started off in sales, and then I worked up to be in management. But with that, I learned things like Joe Malone, how people love the packaging, and when they buy a candle that they love that it comes in a box and has a beautiful ribbon. So we do purple boxes with ribbons and all that stuff as well. And then the same thing, I worked in Kildare Village for 7 years as well with huge international brands. So between sports, beauty, fashion, all that stuff. But you're dealing with so many big companies, and every single day you're learning something that you never knew before. And look, just for me, I just think it gave me the confidence to go, if I am setting up a business, I have this backing to me. And then also, like Ian touched on, is relationships. A lot of people now are still in these industries and is still in retail that you're talking to, and you're selling to them and they know you. So it's really great when you go back into it. It's Denise worked here X amount of years before, and it also is really helpful when you're just getting into stores and building a relationship with people and all that stuff. So I just think it's key, and you just don't know who you're going to meet, that they'll know somebody who knew somebody, or you've worked with somebody before. We just launched in the airport also, and it was do you know this person? I worked with them 5 years ago. So it all helps. So I think sometimes it's undervalued because it's I'm an entrepreneur and I know exactly, it's in my blood and I can do it. And that can be right for some people, but not for everybody. But also it can be underestimated, I think, when you have a backing with experience.
100%. I think it's overblown. It's kind of it's glamorized because it's the lone wolf and they're out there doing their own thing, which you are to an extent, but you can also be playing the game on hard mode.
Yeah, and I think for me personally, I would be terrified because it takes me a while. I'm not like, yes, go with your gut, but sometimes I just question it so much. Whereas with experience, I go, do you know what? This is the right decision to make. And I think obviously as the business grows and it gets older, you're better at making those decisions. But at the start, it's just when you're trying to do everything, it's just very hard to second question everything. But I think with experience, you have that backing with you as well to give you that confidence.
So what prompted the move from traditional stable job to doing your own thing?
So we set up a restaurant, say 6 years ago. Myself and my husband, he was working in Lidl for 15 years. And then he set up that, and I was still working at the time just so we could see and test it and see how that went. That was really successful. And then we closed within 4 months for COVID. So that wasn't so successful. So I was delighted I was still working in a full-time job. But that kind of got us excited about it. And like, I suppose, even though you work really hard and long hours, because I think that's still something that people go, but you couldn't work any harder though you worked in that job, but you absolutely can, and you do when it's your own business and it's your own money. So then I suppose the restaurant was taken off, and then it just needed more people. So I just made the move to support with that. And then before that, we started working on Sugar Plum Sweetery. So the restaurant is casual, healthy food dining, and that's what I eat for food. But then I'm obsessed with chocolate, so it's just trying to find the balance. So I wanted to set up something that just didn't exist, something that nobody else was doing in the market, something really special, handmade, really gifting focused. And that was what I was touching on, like Joe Malone and brands like that.
Okay, right.
Like I could see that there's a market for that, like Father's Day. Sometimes, like, what do you get apart from socks and the usual box of chocolates, like Ferrero Rocher?
I was in Woody's the other day, and they had it was the saddest thing I've ever seen. They had a Father's Day stand, and it was engine oil for your lawnmower.
Yeah, like,
I
it's a tough one.
Oh,
It's a
you
toughie.
failed as a dad if you come out on
Yeah.
Father's Day and there's new engine oil for your lawnmower. Maybe you're mad into the grass. I know Peter Manny's big into his garden. He'd probably be delighted. But I was just like, God, I'd be so sad if
I
my
know,
daughter
it
bought
is
me
a bit
engine oil.
sad.
But you're right though. Like the gifting space, it's limited. Like there's a huge female focusing in the gifting space. But then when it comes to men, that was a really interesting insight. How do you go from a restaurant to Sugar Plum Sweetery though? How do you? I know they're kind of related, but it's another jump. You've made one jump from corporate into running a restaurant, which is a hard business, and then you're like, how can we make it harder?
Yeah, how do we make it harder? I suppose in the background, you're still making everything in the restaurant. So it's like fresh food. So then you're still making the chocolate. So I think that was the transition that we used some of our team that were skilled chefs to move them over and help us with that.
But where did the idea come from? Like, did you set the restaurant up with the plan of then launching this on top? Was the restaurant cash cow, or was this just like?
So yeah, this wasn't even in our heads for the first, say, 2 or 3 years. And I think sometimes you do get a little bit, cocky's the wrong word, but like, because the restaurant, as soon as it opened, it was really, really busy and just kept going, increase. And like, yes, it's a cash cow. And I think then we went, we can do anything. We're great. And now there's 2 of us. It was only 1.5, and now there's 2.
Imagine what we could do if we
imagine what
doubled
we
it.
could do.
Pat's belief thing. So
Exactly.
you do need it.
But then I think then the reality kicks off, like, it's just a very different business. It's really expensive in terms of like shop fits, all that stuff. And then also online was massive at that stage from COVID. So everyone was like, if you start selling online, it's going to be a no-brainer. There's other companies saying they're taking 3 million, 5 million in chocolate and sweets and all this stuff. So we were thinking, this is a no-brainer. There's nobody doing what we're going to do. We're going to make it premium. We're going to do this. And actually that didn't really translate straight away. That the business was really tough for the first 2 years going. It just wasn't big enough. So it was very hard with what we had set up to trade and actually make money from the size that we want. It needed to be bigger. Just the overheads were too expensive.
Right, so it was a scale thing.
It was
you
a
weren't
scale
selling
thing, yeah.
enough to yeah.
Whereas
that's
you kind of go, okay, the restaurant, we've made that successful, but you just, with all the experience and all that stuff and background, it still doesn't matter. Sometimes you just don't have that magic formula, but you have to just stay in the game long enough to figure it out.
Yes.
And I think that's the key for everybody.
Yeah, that's the one thing I talk about all the time here, is that it's just, you got to stay in the game long enough. And we talked about surface area for luck earlier. Like, you just got to but that's a really keen insight for people, I think, listening, because sometimes I think when you're starting something off, you can start it and it's not working. And too often people are like just jacking the towel, but it kind of merges what you said there about experience, from your corporate, but then from the restaurant as well, and then going, look, it's a scale thing. If we can just get above this waterline, it'll be okay.
Yeah.
So
And
that's
then
a
you can
really
get better
key thing.
people. So like you can have somebody, like now we have somebody that does marketing, whereas before, like I'd go to a meeting with a wholesaler and they're like, and can we have a call with your marketing team? And I'd be like, yeah, he's just here. And what about your team, like for ordering? Yeah, that would be me. So like that was it. It was just the two of us. Like we're just going, here, I'll just turn the laptop around for this other person. Like they don't exist. So I think
You've
that-
all these different emails. I was saying that someone said to Ben there,
Just
now I'm going to create
different
a,
names, Jenny.
I'm going to create an assistant who could like be really mean on emails to people, going, no, he won't do that.
Accounts receivable, Jenny. So yeah, like I think that's what's refreshing now is like that we could focus our time and effort on how to grow the business, as opposed to before when you're doing every single thing, which is a challenge. So I think it's more enjoyable as well. I think for me to be in a business that you have people that you can have supporting you as opposed to you doing everything.
Yeah. Okay. And then let's talk about the National Enterprise Awards, because that's why we're all gathered here today. What's been the journey there? Like why have you kind of put yourself forward for these things?
So I suppose for us as well, Leo Westmeath has been a massive support for us, because we were mentioning about machinery earlier, and like all of our machines we essentially got through some sort of a grant as well, which has been massively a major change for us, because cash flow as well when you're trying to invest in bigger stores and all that is so expensive. So like we've got like an expansion grant last year, so literally we bought I think 4 more chocolate machines, and they came in at 12 o'clock and we had them on by 3 o'clock. That's how fast and how much we need them. But we wouldn't have had the cash flow to invest in. Like one could be 60k. Like they're so expensive. Wow. So I think that's why with Enterprise Ireland and with Leo that we put ourselves forward for that, because we did have a massive successful year. It's obviously down to supports and all that stuff, but I just think for us at that stage, or what we're putting forward, it was a great time and a great story for us to say, look, anybody can do this. This is how we've done it. And this is to tell our story of like the future of the brand as well.
And when people are starting off, what should they be doing? Like, how should they be engaging with the Leos? Like what makes it easy for them to work with you? I think is probably because people, I think, don't often go into with the attitude of like, how can you be easy to work with?
Yeah. Relationships, find a person. So I think that's just really important. So find a person, get their name, say, will I pop down to you, grab a coffee? Do you know, like it makes such a difference when you meet somebody, and Zoom and all that stuff is great. But once you do that, then like you have a relationship and they'll help you and support you. But like there's loads of other different things that we've done before, but I think that makes a difference, because then they'll tell you and help you to go, this is what we can do. So now we've got investment this year, which we haven't had before, and I don't know why we didn't, but like for like people on grad programs. So it's another massive piece that we can get investment for this year and expand our team in different sections as well. Like, so I just think find a person, and then just they will help you then to find how they can support your business.
Brilliant. Get a champion.
Yeah,
that's great advice. Pat?
Yeah, so again, similar story to Denise in that we've had some fantastic support from local enterprise office in Cork City. One thing we haven't touched on with Blarney is our big USP and our big ambition with Blarney is to lean heavily into sustainability. And our ultimate goal is to take the brewery off grid with zero waste. And in order to do that, we had to do a feasibility study. So we needed some quite costly equipment to complete that process, which was funded again by the local enterprise office with their help and assistance. And so they've been a great support. And obviously we're delighted to be nominated. It's a real, I suppose, recognition of, I suppose, the team that have made it happen, so we're really excited, really looking forward to tonight.
Yeah, it's one of those awards that really matter. Me and Declan were talking about earlier, like there's a lot of awards that are pay for play. Oh, you buy a table, suddenly, Pat's businessman of the year, well done, Pat. That's surprising. Whereas like there's when more awards matter, people sit up and look at them. Like when you look at the list of finalists that's this year, like there are some big names there, like, and it does grab attention in the right circles. Like investors do look at it, seasoned business people do look at it to see who's on the rise as well. Your competitors are probably looking at it. It's all good.
Yeah, it's again, it's great to build a network as well. Meeting other guys in different spaces. You're building, as you mentioned, a network. It's constantly evolving, and again, through the local enterprise office, they've been fantastic in being able to do that, even on a local level with other local businesses. And there's never anything that's kind of off the radar with them. So if you have a problem, you go and talk to them. If they can't help you, they probably will know someone who can. So and again, having key people to interact with is vitally important. So we've been really lucky. I'll be honest, we've count ourselves very lucky to be.
Yeah, I think to Denise's point, like, you're one person away.
Yeah.
So and so knows so and so, especially in Ireland, and people do want to help. Like Ian was saying earlier, with the retail people, like, they do want to help. People do want to help, but you got to be easy to work with. That's kind of why I asked that question. Some people are just difficult. Ian, what's been your story?
Yeah, exact same as the guys. I found it absolutely brilliant, to be honest. I'm a very proud Mead man, as you know, so representing Mead is fantastic. But
finally Mid-County.
Exactly. Yeah. It just wasn't good enough in the past, but this chocolate is. So I went in and I did the feasibility study. I met Dan and Lorna in there, and again, I went in really, really early. So I had a physical bar, and it was actually in a different brand name. Because we ran into trademark issues at a European level, actually on the last day of the trademark infringement or the trademark opposition. We had Volt, VOLT, and I had brought that into the local enterprise office. But actually, interestingly enough, as we say, about one person away, I went and I had a call. I LinkedIn messaged the person that owned the brand in Germany. And about 15 minutes in, he said, "So what's your background? How did you come up with this product idea?" Because he owned the word RYSE, or the word Volt. And I said, "Oh, this is where I worked, such and such." And he said, "Oh, so you worked in Intersnack?" I worked in Intersnack. And we had been in the same office building before. And we had been sitting in the same office before and hadn't realised. So then he actually wanted to offer us it on a really good license fee, a tiny license fee, which was really sound. But then I just said I couldn't build a brand for someone else, so we went with the name RYSE. But I had brought Volt into the local enterprise office and then told him the story, and then we went through a brand change, and we used the grant for that because that was obviously costly. I had actually built all the positioning around Volt, etc. So then we had to change, and we used that feasibility grant for it, and then we went from the feasibility to the priming grant. So we've gone through kind of the whole system with them, and they've been unbelievably helpful, and linking us in with people and the right people, like both locally and then in with Enterprise Ireland. So we've kind of graduated through now to the PSSF, but there's a huge amount of supports out there. Speaking, I've travelled a lot in the last few weeks, and speaking to some people in the UK actually about the amount of supports they have versus ours. We are so well supported with our network over here. It's incredible. And like that book, the Lean Startup, will tell you always to try and get supports or try and do things as easily and as low cost as possible. And the supports that we have out there in terms of local enterprise and Enterprise Ireland are brilliant. They've really gotten us to the point where we haven't had to make huge investments to get our product on shelf.
Yeah, it's incredible. You can do a lot with a little.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up, I want you to talk to the person listening who wants to start their own business. What's the one little nugget you'd leave them with? So I'm all going to get you all to give one little nugget each, but also just tell us where we can get your product. If people are listening to this now all across Ireland, where can they get it?
I think I would recommend 2 books that kind of work really well for each other, and they tie in quite well. One of them is The Lean Startup. I think it's RYSE. It's absolutely brilliant. It's, again, just like how can you do things really cleverly and creatively to get feedback loops really quickly and that type of stuff, and not put in a huge amount of investment. And then the other one is, I think it's Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. And it's fantastic because it just basically, as Pat was saying, you just have to back yourself because it's an absolute roller coaster. The ups and downs, the ups are far better than the downs. So I think if someone has a good enough idea and they want to put the time in and they're resilient, they should definitely look at starting their own business. But those 2 books really give you a good idea of how to go about things. And then, from a RYSE point of view, just to give some background, we've 80 milligrams of caffeine, which is kind of a longer lasting, slower release caffeine, so it won't give you a spike and a crash. 80 or 15% of your daily guideline allowance for vitamins B6 and B12, so that will help improve kind of metabolism and focus, all with less than 150 calories, and it's made in Newbridge, County Kildare, with fair trade chocolate. So we've tried to do everything completely right from the offset. You can buy RYSE now in Circle K, more or less nationwide with Circle K. Spars, selected Spars, Londis, Mace, Daybreak, Avoca, Fresh, and we will be available in 80 stores, 80 Apple Green stores, kicking off in July. And we are actually delighted to say that now we're on the Lidl Kickstarts program from September as well. So we're definitely growing distribution.
Brilliant, great progress thing, no matter where people are. Eric RYSE is coming on the pod in 2 months as well. I was obsessed with that book.
It's incredible.
He's got a new one coming out, so I'm looking forward to chatting.
I'll definitely listen to that.
Pat.
One word of advice is don't be afraid to change. So anybody starting out on any journey in a new business, it's a big change, but don't fear it, embrace it. And again, back to the key ingredients, having the belief and the vision. So once you can have those ingredients, it'll form itself from there. So it's so, and again, I've gone through a lot of change in the last number of years as regards careers and starting new businesses, but it's the most exhilarating, most rewarding thing when you look back and when you can say to yourself, I'm happy with where I'm at, so as regards to products, so we're still probably a lot younger than the guys here, so we've launched our canned product in August of last year, so we're only a few months on shelf. You'll find us in for Blarney, you'll find us regionally in a lot of Super Values and Centra stores and off licenses throughout, certainly throughout Cork and parts of Munster. We've also just in the last number of weeks partnered with Coleman's Beverages, who are Ireland's largest drinks distributor. So we're in the process of rolling product out nationwide across retail multiples such as Tesco and Musgraves Group. So over the next couple of weeks, you should see our products starting to appear on shelf nationwide. As regards Active, we're in 133 Tesco stores nationwide, and we're just in the next 3 to 4 weeks, you'll see us in Musgrave stores, so throughout your Centras, Super Values, Daybreaks, and so on. And then on trade, you'll find our products widely distributed in Cork, and again, we're looking to grow that over the next 12 months to start some more nationwide accounts for Blarney Brewing Company.
Brilliant. Denise?
For me as well, I would say, what was the first question?
It's been so long. What's the one nugget? So I want us to talk directly to the person that's sitting there listening now, driving their car or they're at work, whatever. And they're like, I want to do my own thing.
So it is to talk to other business owners. I think we all have this wall sometimes of going, if I say too much, like, will somebody learn too much off me? Or this could be a competitor, or it might not be. But we love talking as business owners. We're lonely. There's not many of us out there. So I just think everybody, like, I've never met somebody that has been standoffish or hasn't shared something if you're open to it as well. But like, they're in the business, they're in the trade. And even like the amount of people that helped us even over the last year and a half that are in the chocolate business, like, it's amazing what people can help and support. And like, it's just crazy, but it just makes such a difference because you're getting really good raw like feedback, and also it depends on the time. So this year could be very different to last year, and the market, and for you to be able to pick up the phone and go, how's everything going, how's trade, so you're not going, oh my god, we're down and they're up. And so I just think that's so important that we don't do that enough. And I think there's obviously, I did going for growth recently, and the same thing, it's like there's people I've been friends with for years and years, and it's just somebody that you can actually pick up the phone and go, do you know what, I'm struggling with this, and it's just really refreshing to be able to talk to somebody who fully understands what you're doing, because you are a very small kind of like group of people when you think about other people in other jobs as well. So
Yeah. And where can we get Sugar Plum Sweetery?
So we can obviously buy it in our shop physically in Mullingar. So that's where all our chocolate is made. So it comes from the chocolate factory straight up to the shop. We are in Kildare Village as well. So we have a lovely pop-up store there. We're in Brown Thomas, Arnott, Voca's, Kilkenny Design. We've just launched in the airport. And then in 6 weeks, we'll be in a new city in Ireland. So we're just not saying where.
Big reveal.
Exactly. And then we
Tag
have
us on
another
social
store
media
as well.
in 6 weeks and we'll share it.
Absolutely, yeah. So we're going to keep spreading the Sugar Plum love as well over the next couple of months.
I love it. And I think what you touched on there, Denise, is kind of like why we're all here today, is that we all share the same problems. You know, business owners, all of the same problems. And to your point, like I always find good people will share.
Yeah,
It's the
absolutely.
people who aren't very good. They aren't a threat to you anyway. They won't share. They'll be holding on to their ideas like a squirrel with their nuts. Like, whereas like I always say, rising tide lifts all ships.
Yeah.
Like great people are only too willing to share because like, and the insight you give there about just being able to check in, like that's so valuable. It just keeps you calm over like the longer term. Thank you so much for joining me. Best of luck in the awards tonight. I'll be watching.
Thank you so much.
Thanks very much.
Thanks very much.